confirms 50% growth rate of Lagos State gross domestic product. President Tinubu pledges to approve what Nigeria can afford as new minimum wage. Confronting G7 agrees $50 million loan for Ukraine from Russian assets. And in sport host, Germany to battle Scotland as Euro 2024 tournament begins. And now the details. I am Mike James. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says the gross domestic product GDP of Lagos in the last 5 years under his administration has risen by almost 50%, surpassing the size of the GDPs of over 40 African countries. According to the Governor Sanwo-Olu, the economic prosperity recorded by Lagos State over the last 2 decades has shown the strength and potential which any subnational government can offer in shaping the African growth narrative. The governor delivered the closing speech at the ongoing Third African Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, ACTIF 2024 in Nassau, Bahamas, addressed a large range of audience from Africa and Caribbean countries. Sanwo-Olu noted that with a strong focus on internal revenue generation and strategic partners with the central government and private investors, the state had demonstrated how focused leadership at some national levels could rework a nation's economic vision to create a sustainable growth pathway for the continent. It said Lagos State had grown from being a state in deficit in the military era to become a hub for investment and technological advancement. The governor said the Eco Atlantic City project, which has since become a global model for environmental responsiveness and climate action, was one of the 5 key long-term initiatives developed by President Bola Tinubu when he was the governor of the state to create new economic opportunities for Lagos. He also shared the landmark aims resulting from adoption of African Continental Free Trade Area, describing the trade initiative as historic, revolutionary idea seeking to unlock the full potential of free trade areas being created across Africa. Parents need to engage, educate, and invest in the boy child to bring out the best in them as positive change agents in the society. Wife of Lagos State Governor Joke Sanwo-Olu stressed the need to promote access to quality education for vulnerable male children, saying the growing neglect of the boy child could adversely affect their well-being and threaten their future. Mrs. Sanwo-Olu stated this at a 3-day residential workshop with the theme Awakening the Boy Child Towards Becoming a Change Agent, organized by the Lagos Boy Child Initiative of the Office of the First Lady of Lagos State. And speaking during an interview at a workshop held at Lagos Model College, Mayor Mrs. Sanwo-Olu said the main objective of the Lagos Boy Child Initiative is to raise awareness on the rights and welfare of the boy child. Mrs. Sanwo-Olu noted that over time, attention has been shifted to the girl child more than the boy child, hence the need to engage them young for them to add value to their lives and the society in general.
My advice to parents is please, as much as possible, remember that boys have rights, they have feelings too. We should treat them with some kind of respect. We should encourage them to have mentors as role models in the society. There are a lot of people that are big men and people in society, but they are not mentors. So you have to choose the right mentor for your child. Education is very important. You have to struggle as much as possible to ensure that the basic education, secondary education, the child must achieve that. There's no excuse for it. 0 to 18, every child has the right to education.
In his remarks, a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly representing Etiosa constituency 2, Bolaji Shao, lauded the wife of the governor for coming up with the Lagos State Boy Child Initiative, saying, though there is need to lay emphasis on every child, the boy child often is saddled with enormous responsibilities, must be well-groomed and modeled properly. He urged the parents to guide the children, put them on the right path and mentor them, adding that a concerted approach is needed to raise good children. And if you know 1,869 Lagos State pilgrims currently performing the 2024 Holy Pilgrimage in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will depart to Mecca for Mina to begin the major Hajj rites, which fall between the 8th and 12th of Dhul Hajj, the 12th month in the lunar months. And according to Amir ul Hajj Ibrahim Laili, The pilgrims will begin their movement to Mina today, the 8th day of Dhul Hajj, from where they will proceed to the plain of Mount Arafah on the 9th day, Saturday. Likely to describe Dhul Hajj as a sacred month and time for heightened devotion, reflection and act of worship, appeal to the pilgrims to take advantage of the period to pray fervently for themselves, Lagos State and Nigeria at large. And also speaking special advisor to the governor on Islamic matters, Abdullahi Jebe, praised the pilgrims for their patience, perseverance and understanding, saying that their conduct is very impressive and satisfactory. And now to the rest of the stories. President Bola Tinubu says he will approve what is affordable as the new minimum wage, alerting the National Assembly to expect its memorandum on the final settlement. And President Tinubu said that the amount to be forwarded to the National Assembly would be such that Nigeria can afford it. It will be recalled at the end of the negotiations of minimum wage last week Friday, the federal government team alongside the organised private sector OPS had slightly increased the offer to 62,000 from the initial 60,000, while the organised labour also reduced its demand from 494,000 naira to 250,000 naira. The federal government says it is seeking a $500 million loan from the World Bank for rural road infrastructure and agricultural marketing. This was contained in the final draft of the Resettlement Policy Framework for the Nigeria Rural Access and Agricultural Marketing Project Scale-Up implemented by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The fund is expected to address the need for better connectivity in rural Nigeria, where 92 million people currently lack access to good roads. The project aims to improve rural access and climate resilience, thereby boosting agricultural potential and marketing prospects for agrarian communities. This in turn will contribute to better livelihoods for the rural populace. And in some foreign news, the G7 has agreed to use frozen Russian assets to raise $50 million for Ukraine to help it fight invading Russian forces. US President Joe Biden said it was another reminder to Russia that they are not backing down, but Moscow has threatened extremely painful retaliatory measures. The money is not expected to arrive until the end of the year, but is seen as a long-term solution to support Ukraine's war effort and economy. Also at the G7 summit in Italy, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Biden signed a 10-year bilateral security deal between Ukraine and the US, a development hailed by Kyiv as historic. The agreement envisages US military and training aid to Ukraine, but does not commit Washington to send troops to fight for its ally. And over to sports news, host Germany will today kick off Euro 2024 in Munich against Scotland, and the start of a journey the three-time continental champions hope will conclude with a victory in the final in Berlin on July 14. After the small tournament in a row, including going out to the group stage at the 2018 and 2022 World Cups, Julian Nagelsmann's side taken the challenge of putting Germany back among Europe's heavyweights. And 3 wins in 11 matches last year reduced already low expectations, but under Nagelsmann, the outlook has gradually improved and there is increased optimism from supporters as well. It is Germany's first men's major tournament as host since the 2006 World Cup, and they are looking to recreate the magic that helped rekindle the passion for the national team after a similar spell in the doldrums. On Saturday, Hungary will take on Switzerland in Cologne. In the other match in the section before, Spain play Croatia in the opening Group B game in Berlin. And that was our news at 10, but just before we go, always slow down at road junctions, intersections and pedestrian crossings. You can follow us and like all our various social media platforms: Facebook, Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, X, Traffic Radio 961, Instagram, Lagos Traffic Radio 961, and subscribe and watch our news and programs live on YouTube, Traffic Radio 961. You can also visit our website, trafficradio961.ng. Did you know that the Solo administration trained 150 small-scale business owners in digital marketing? You can get more details, it's on the Lagos State Government website. And to end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has stated that the gross domestic product (GDP) of Lagos in the last 5 years under his administration had risen by almost 15%, surpassing the size of the GDPs of over 40 African countries. And President Bola Tinubu says he will approve what is affordable as a new minimum wage and acting the National Assembly to expect his memorandum on the final settlement. We also told you that the G7 has agreed to use frozen Russian assets to raise $50 billion in Ukraine to help it fight invading Russian forces. And then in sport, host Germany will today kick off Euro 2024 in Munich against Scotland in the start of a journey. The three-time continental champions hope will conclude with victory in the final in Berlin on July 14. And for contact with the newsroom, send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. That ends the news broadcast compiled by Adeswa Ejoyoka. Thank you for listening. A beautiful morning to you. My name is Mike James.